When Obina turned to pick up his falling basket, it slid, all by itself, deeper into the weeds, slowly, deliberately, as though something hidden beneath the earth had taken hold of it and wasn't letting go. Before we continue, my child, welcome to Moonlight Tales of Africa, where ancient winds still carry wisdom, where every story holds a lesson, and where the moonlight reveals truths that daylight often hides. Settle close and let the journey deepen. In the peaceful village of Ndiuno, where the morning mist rose like whispers from the ancestors, and every cock's crow meant rise, the day awaits, there lived a man called Obina, known far and wide as the lazy farmer. Ndiuno was a place where the land breathed life into the people. Before the first light brushed the tops of the palm trees, the village was already humming with activity. Women tied their wrappers tightly as they headed out with baskets on their heads. Children chased after goats that always seemed too excited at dawn. And the men walked in proud single file towards their farms, their hoes resting on strong shoulders. You could hear the sound of hoes kissing the earth, ta, 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 a rhythm so steady that even the birds adjusted their songs to match it. Laughter rolled across the farmlands as friends teased one another, and the morning breeze carried the sweet smell of hopes planted year after year. But Obina was different. While the village shook awake with energy, Obina would still be on his bamboo bed, scratching his belly and yawning as if waking up was the hardest work in the world. He would say, "Why hurry? The sun will always rise again tomorrow." He had inherited fertile land from his late father, land so generous that even weeds sprouted as if they were proud of themselves. Any seed dropped there by mistake could grow. But instead of honoring it, Obina would sit beneath his favorite mango tree, chewing sugarcane, counting clouds, and occasionally spitting seeds so far that he would nod in satisfaction as if that was his own kind of farming. Children often passed by and laughed. "Uncle Obina, are you farming the sky?" He would reply, stretching. "Maybe, if crops start falling from heaven, remember I said it first." His wife Nneoma, a woman whose hands worked from sunrise to sunset, carried both strength and patience in her bones. She would walk past him with a basket of cassava balanced gracefully on her hip and plead gently, "My husband, if you don't plant, what will we eat when harvest season comes?" Obina laughed lazily, waving her off. "Nneoma, the gods will provide. Have you ever seen a hungry palm tree?" But even the palm trees seemed to sigh whenever he said such things. The villagers often shook their heads. The earth does not feed the idle. It only rewards the hand that digs. Yet, Obina remained unmoved. At night, while every other farmer sharpened their tools, he sharpened his tongue, telling rich stories of how his barns would one day overflow with yam, millet, and corn, even though his hands never touched the soil. But the ancestors were listening, and the land too was listening. When the wind began to change and the sky grew heavy with the scent of rain, everyone knew the planting season had arrived. Ndiuno transformed. The village became a living drumbeat. Men stood tall as they polished their cutlasses until they shone like mirrors. Women molded yam mounds with a rhythm so graceful it looked like dancing. The children carried baskets of seeds and ran through the farms with excitement, singing in high, cheerful voices, "Ihe omaga sino ala iputa." The air pulsed with energy. The clang of iron against earth, the rustle of leaves as people moved between rows, the hum of old songs that farmers had passed down for generations. Even the elders sat under the udala tree, watching proudly, tapping their walking sticks in approval. But Obina, he remained under his mango tree like a king, relaxing in his palace, half asleep, half awake, holding a calabash of palm wine, his belly rising and falling with the comfort of a man who believed the world owed him blessings. From afar, he hailed his friend Chike, who was bent over his farmland. "My friend, you people like to suffer. Why waste your strength? The gods will bless the land whether we sweat or not. Chike straightened, wiping sweat from his face. Obina, the gods bless effort, not excuses. Even the yam that grows wild first hides beneath the soil. But Obina only laughed, shaking his head as if Chike was telling jokes. To satisfy his conscience, he walked lazily to his own farm, scattered a few seeds carelessly. Some landed on stones, some on dry patches, and some never reached the soil at all. He clapped his hands proudly afterwards, convinced he had achieved something great. Meanwhile, the village farms flourished. Green shoots pushed through the soil like eager children. Birds danced over the fields, pecking grains with joy. Women sang as they weeded, and men bragged playfully about whose crops would be the biggest this year. But Obina's field, remained silent. The soil looked dry, offended even. A land waiting for a farmer who never came. Inoma grew weary. One evening while cooking over the fire, she sighed deeply and said, "My husband, if you plant laziness, you will harvest shame." Obina stretched again, smiling in that lazy way of his. "Don't worry, Inoma. The gods know my heart." The elders will later say, "The gods may know your heart, but the land only listens to your hands."
When the harvest moon rose like a golden drum in the sky, Ndiuno glowed with celebration. Drums rolled in the village square, echoing through the night like the heartbeat of the ancestors. Women danced in circles, their wrappers swaying like waves, their anklets jingling with every step. Children chased each other between the huts, chewing roasted maize and laughing with mouths full. Smoke rose from clay pots. Palm wine flowed like a small river. Men carried yam tubers so thick a grown man needed 2 hands to lift one. The air tasted of joy, roasted maize, fresh palm oil, and the pride of a season well spent. But in the middle of that rising happiness, one man's spirit sank like a stone thrown into a quiet stream. Obina walked alone down the narrow red earth path leading to his farm. A woven basket hung under his arm, but he swung half-heartedly. His whistle was thin, the kind a man forces to hide a trembling heart. Every step seemed to carry the weight of all his ignored warnings. As he neared his farm, even the birds fell silent. The wind, which had been dancing through the trees, grew still, as if the land already knew what he was about to see. He reached his field, stopped. His basket slipped from his fingers and rolled into the weeds. Nothing. No yams, no cassava, no maize, no single green shoot. Only weeds. Tall, wild, merciless. They stood proudly where crops should have been, swaying mockingly in the wind like thin, long-limbed spirits laughing at him. Obina's knees hit the ground. This cannot be. This cannot be. He dug desperately into the soil with his bare hands, scraping, pulling, hoping. But the earth gave him nothing. Only dry soil, dead roots, and the bitter taste of regret. When he finally rose, his palms were bruised and trembling. His walk back home was long, heavy, and filled with whispers. Children nudged one another and giggled. Look, the lazy farmer has harvested air. Maybe he planted the wind. Obina kept his eyes on the ground, each step a reminder of the harvest he did not earn. That night, his compound was silent, the kind of silence that presses on the heart. The fire cracked weakly. His children whimpered from hunger, their stomachs hollow. Neoma sat by the hearth,
her face lit by the orange glow as she whispered quiet prayers for strength, for food, for a miracle. But Obinna sat alone in the corner, staring at the darkness like it was staring back. His belly was empty, but his shame was full. And in the quiet, his wife's words returned to him, loud as thunder. If you plant laziness, you will harvest shame. That night, sleep abandoned him. Even the shadows seemed to shake their heads at him. Before the cock crew, before even the sky softened with blue, Obinna sat under the mango tree, the same tree where he once spent entire seasons doing nothing. But today, he looked different. No laziness in his eyes, only heaviness, hunger, and the sharp sting of regret. He rubbed his palms together, feeling the blisters from yesterday's frantic digging. The tree above him rustled gently, as if whispering, "So you have finally woken." As the last star faded, an old traveler approached from the eastern road. A man with a long white beard and eyes like twin moons. He carried a staff carved with ancient symbols and walked with the calmness of someone who had seen many seasons. He stopped to study Obinna. "Young man," he said softly, "your face carries the weight of hunger." Obinna's voice cracked. "I have walked, but the land has rejected me." The old man chuckled, not in mockery, but in the way elders laugh when a child says something foolish. "You call what you did work? No! Listen well, my son. The land is a bride. A bride does not bless a man who ignores her. She favors the one who courts her with patience, with sweat, with respect. You abandoned her, and she has turned her back on you." The words pierced Obinna deeper than any accusation. For the first time in a long time, his heart bowed. That very day, he walked back to his field. The weeds still stood tall, mocking him, but now he saw them differently. Not as proof of failure, but as proof of what must be conquered. He picked up his hoe, a tool that he had abandoned for seasons, and placed his hands firmly on it. The soil was hard, stubborn, dry, almost punishing, but he dug it anyway. Each strike of the hoe was a confession. Each drop of sweat was a repentance. Each breath was a promise. Soon the sun rose high, beating down on him fiercely. Sweat drenched his body. His arms ached. His back screamed, but he did not stop. One morning, Chike passed by and almost dropped his basket. "Hey, even Obinna now greets the morning before the cock." At first, the villagers laughed. Some joked that the gods must have turned his mattress into a bed of scorpions to wake him so early. But as the days turned to weeks, and the weeks rolled into seasons, the laughter turned to respect. Obinna changed. He rose before the sun. He tilled his land with determination. He weeded until his palms burned. He planted with care, not carelessness. The land noticed. The ancestors noticed. Even the birds began to sing over his field again. And when the next harvest season arrived, Obinna's barn was full. His yams were thick and long. His cassava was heavy. His maize glowed golden in the sun. At the harvest feast, the drums rolled for him, the same drums that once seemed to mock him. Women sang praises of hard work. Men clapped him on the back. Obinna smiled, a smile full of humility and victory. "Indeed," he whispered to the sky, "the land listens only to sweat."
And so, the tale ends, but its echo still dances in the wind. Remember, child, the moon never forgets the stories whispered beneath her light.
You've been listening to Moonlight Tales of Africa. If your heart has felt the fire tonight, let it glow. Like, share, and come again when the moon calls.